Ubisoft has now entered their next transitional phase where things have gone from worse to complete chaos in record time. I've been reporting on the future of this company for a while now. People keep saying that I'm lying when I'm told things about them. I said that Tencent would want to buy the company. People said I was wrong, then it was true. I said Shadows would not be enough to save Ubisoft. They said I was stupid, but then I ended up being right. And I said following Shadows' release there will be mass layoffs, and again, the same thing. Well, it turns out I was right, unfortunately again. As we can see here from an official post, Ubisoft Leamington is closing their doors effective immediately, they said. After many incredible years, we want to share the news that Ubisoft Leamington has officially closed its doors. We are beyond grateful to our talented team whose creativity, passion, and dedication have left a lasting mark on the games we've created. The memories we've shared and the community we've built in Leamington as part of this transition. We'll be merging our account with Ubisoft Reflections, where you can continue to stay up to date with the latest news and developments from our UK team. I know this could be used as a gotcha against detractors of mine, but I need people to understand something. I don't want people to lose their jobs. I don't want the game industry to crash, but the unfortunate reality is that the industry is, in a way, heading towards that game crash inevitably, despite what I or others do or say. And how Ubisoft has been running themselves has been in no direction but the grave for years. I feel for Leamington. It's not their fault they're closing down, it's the higher-ups as per usual. Who, if I had to guess, will also be the only people at Leamington's office who will likely still be employed once this is all said and done. Which is a big problem with Ubisoft in general going forward, which is, despite the fact they are being rebranded, or saved, I guess so to speak, by Tencent with this new subsidiary that they're doing, if the same people are still in charge of the ship that got us here in the first place, what's the point? And that's one of the core issues that is plaguing Ubisoft. They look to purge the developers who make their games, not realizing it's the managers and the executives who are the real problem. A grunt developer can't decide which direction Assassin's Creed or Far Cry is gonna go. This falls on the producers, managers, and more as always. Why are the people who burn the city still being left in charge of rebuilding it is my question. As you'll see, this new push they're doing towards this new Ubisoft era will only work if one criteria is met, which is that Ubisoft itself needs as little power as possible when it comes to the future of their IPs. It's obvious if Tencent had the reins, they would take Ubisoft's IPs and usher in a new era for all of these franchises going forward. I can almost guarantee you if Tencent took one of their teams of Chinese developers and told them you're free to make whatever Assassin's Creed game in any era you want, they would likely instantly outdo every previous Assassin's Creed game immediately. And no, I'm not kidding. Look, I beat Shadows recently. It wasn't good. I frankly found its story to be probably, I'm not kidding, the worst story I've experienced in the entire series, mainline anyways. Doesn't really feel fair to compare it to those side-scroller ones, but the most story you're going to get out of Shadows is in its first 2 hours. The middle part of this game, which is like 60 hours long if you do everything like I did, is just a mismatch of plot threads that begin and end as soon as they're started. You just assassinate random targets, not really knowing or caring who or what anything is. Sure, I guess you could read the notes that are left behind on the dead bodies you just killed, but the writing is so poor and the plot is so thin, there really is no point. Plus, modern games are all doing this, so when your character, picks up these messages, they will just summarize what the note said anyways when you pick it up. And even what they explain doesn't end up being interesting either, and by the time I reached the third and final act of this game, if you can even call it that, it was clear to me that Ubisoft had completely lost the plot when it came to Shadows in every single way. Yasuke was hunting down Portuguese slavers who apparently enslaved his mom, and the main bad guy for Yasuke is some Portuguese guy named Nuno Caro, who unironically even has a mustache that he can twirl. Yasuke's mom is killed in a flashback because she was picking up Templar notes that fell off a desk in the Templar captain quarters. And she's a cleaner, I assume, so she's tidying up the place, which is what her job is. But when the door opens, the Templars find her holding the notes of other Templars and then assume that she's a mole for the assassins. So anyways, she dies, and then randomly, in the middle of the ocean, for no reason at all, an assassin just appears seemingly out of nowhere to save Yasuke's life and just starts killing people. How did this random Japanese assassin arrive in the middle of the ocean without anyone knowing? Just consume product, I guess. Anyways, this random assassin ends up dying, Yasuke jumps ship again with no land or boat in sight, and apparently just survives. Also, he gets shot in the side too, and then he somehow just ends up in the hands of kinder Portuguese men, who just inevitably sell him off to Oda Nobunaga in the beginning of the game. This entire plot is nonsense, guys. Naoe's is somehow even more stupid. Her big reveal is that her mom is still alive, who was thought dead the entire game. Oh, you don't get to meet or see her either, by the way, because obviously they just reused Naoe's model in the scenes that she appears in from behind anyways. And then I just kind of let Hatari Hanzo gone. He's one of the 3 actual real-life Iga Shinobis. Apparently you can kill him, but at this point I was so tired of playing this game, I just let him go, and then the game just kind of ends. You just beat everybody, there's no actual resolution that feels like it mattered, there's no struggle or anything beyond the first 2 hours. You just kind of god mode and kill a bunch of nameless random people who I guess are evil, and then the game spends its entire plot sequel baiting you into wanting to buy either future expansions for this game or an actual sequel game where Yasuke and Naoe continue their adventure. And I gotta say, this is bold of Ubisoft to believe that people would want more content with these characters specifically, because Naoe and Yasuke are easily some of the worst and poorly written characters in Assassin's Creed lore. Barely even characters at times that just sleepwalk through a plot that holds no substance or memorable moments. Anything that actually is cool happens in those first 2 hours of gameplay. Everything else is literally, I'm not kidding you, the same slot mission structure and events over and over until suddenly you just hit the final act. To say that Shadows is a massive disappointment as an Assassin's Creed fan, that would be an understatement. It doesn't help that there's a sequence where you hunt down Akechi Mitsuhide, that's the guy who kills Oda Nobunaga in real life. And you chase Akechi to a village by the water where he ends up standing his ground, and here then comes Yasuke and Naoe. A black guy that Akechi in real life spared his life and then gave him back to the Jesuits because he was useless and frankly just annoyed Akechi by being in Yasuke's presence. But instead, here in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have Yasuke standing tall getting ready to cut down Akechi in Mortal Kombat. It is literal fanfiction at this point, written by white liberal female writers, man. Cringe doesn't begin to describe any of this, it's genuinely baffling. Anyway, you end up defeating Akechi because the Black Samurai is just too strong to withstand, and then this moment happens. Which, apologies, there's no subtitles, I was playing without them here, I know, my bad. But I did record this moment with my phone while playing on my PS5, and I thought it was so ridiculous, you just gotta hear it to believe it.
The Oda clan has many great samurai, but you were the one to avenge our lord. Perhaps you are the greatest of us all.
Enough. Your time has come.
As you just heard, Akechi Mitsuhide, the former general of Oda Nobunaga who took over his empire in real life, lays defeated at the feet of a man he exiled in reality, and these writers had the audacity to make Akechi say that Yasuke was not only better than he was at being a samurai, but that Yasuke was the greatest samurai in Japan that was living at this point. It was so baffling, I'm glad that I was recording it so you can all see it now. It felt like the final nail in this game's coffin if you ask me. They genuinely meat ride Yasuke this entire game. There's even an entire questline where Yasuke goes around facing his master's pupils in 1v1 duels, while also using their preferred weapon of choice, by the way, and Yasuke, of course, he beats all of them. And then Yasuke ends up being crowned the greatest pupil under this Japanese swordmaster. Again, need I remind you that the entire plot of Shadows happens a mere 6 months after Yasuke arrives in Japan proper. So this guy picked up a katana for half a year and was immediately able to blaze right past every single warrior of any weapon type, all of whom have trained their entire lives in either using the katana, naginata, bow, teppo, and so on, and Yasuke just beats them all. He is the ultimate Mary Sue. Well, he's a guy though, so I think the correct term is Gary Sue, I think. But the point remains that the audacity this game has when it comes to its plot and characters are so bafflingly bad, I actually can't believe the people working on this looked at it all and went, yup, this is gonna silence all the haters. When all they did was offer up the most milquetoast by-the-numbers Ubisoft game that uses feudal Japan like a playground for woke liberal ideologies than anything else. I will admit at least, the game does look nice. The combat is pretty fun once you have all the available tools at your disposal, which is, tens of hours in. But when the writing, characters, plot, and themes are all awful, it doesn't really matter because you feel nothing and you just want it to be over and you have no connection to anything that's happening. I also, because I'm a masochist, platinum the game too, and oh my god, it's finally over, dude. That's platinum numero 180 now, but screw this game, man. But it gets weirder. Turns out Ubisoft spent about $2 million on influencers to push their game, according to Nick Lombardi, who is the co-founder of Streamforge over at LinkedIn, as you can see here. One of these influencer groups they paid was a clothing company called Anti-Social Club, which made Yasuke and Naoe clothing collabs. Why anyone would want to wear any of this is beyond me. Why would you want to walk around telling everyone you're a moron for wearing a hoodie with a fake black samurai that's made there for only propaganda? No thanks. They also did things like a Red Bull partnership where I guess athlete influencers jumped from really high up and ran around on a makeshift Japanese house set they built for the video. Which, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. Doesn't make me want to play the game though. And they also paid the Lo-Fi Girl channel to host a remixed version of 20 different tracks from Assassin's Creed Shadows. I genuinely don't remember any of the music from this game and I just played it, man. This game's story and more, it has seeped out of me quicker than diarrhea. This Streamforge also discovered that Ubisoft had 689 Twitch creators, 178 YouTube people, and 105 TikTokers pushing their game. Apparently this is about 10% of what they used to push, which was around 9,000 creators just last year, which is yikes, dude. So all of that money spent and it didn't work. Apparently in total on YouTube, Shadows content accumulated 179 million views. I actually wonder how much of that was me, to be real with you. Also, just how much in general was just people telling others to just not buy the game. But in total, as you can see here, the majority of this $2 million in marketing budget was spent on Twitch, with YouTube vids costing Ubisoft around $600,000 in paid promotions. However, here's where it gets interesting. Streamforge also found the exact total amounts every single top influencer was paid by Ubisoft to push Shadows. In first place is Hassan Piker, who received $76,510 by Ubisoft to push Shadows on Twitch. Other notable ones were Your Rage Gaming with $54,000 and LOL Tyler 1, who got almost $38,000. To be honest, most of these people, I don't even know who they are or anything like that, but here's the full list on screen for you to look at yourself. I also posted this on Twitter on my profile. I also left a full link on my Twitter post about this where you can find all of this relevant information if you want to look through it yourselves. That's if the link is still valid and Streamforge doesn't take it down or anything, but as you can see, I guess it does pay to grift. The fact that Hassan pushed this game for Ubisoft was clearly not organic at all. The man made more pushing this one game to his audience than the average American makes in a full year of working 40 hours a week. Never let anyone convince you that streaming on Twitch is somehow more difficult than working a normal 9-to-5 job. It isn't. This Hassan guy and more laughed their ways to the bank pushing this anti-Japanese propaganda, and frankly, it kinda disgusts me. But the fact is, Streamforge came to this conclusion is crazy, and here's what it says. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I understand the specific strategy Ubisoft went for when it comes to creator selection. On Twitch, they chose Hassan Piker as their champion. I imagine he was actually far more expensive than the estimate above, as a creator his size gets to charge a premium. But more specifically, Hassan barely streams gaming content, and when he does, it almost always is sponsored. Hassan's Assassin's Creed Shadows stream came in at half the viewership his streams normally do, which indicates a lack of interest from his core audience. I also see they sponsored Tyler 1, which seems quite random. He streamed the game for 2 hours, then immediately went back to League of Legends. I believe this is not a winning formula for showcasing your game on Twitch. Wait, what? Really? Wait. Tyler 1 only streamed Shadows for 2 hours. That's it? And they paid him how much? Let's go back to that list again. $37,000, almost $38,000 to stream their new game for 2 hours? You gotta be kidding me, dude. That means that Tyler 1 made $18,923.50 per hour that he streamed Shadows on Twitch, in case you guys want an actual tangible amount. Yeah, it's obvious that Ubisoft did not spend their money accordingly at all with this marketing push. They would have been far off just better giving out random free codes to anyone who just wanted them than doing this because it didn't translate into the success that they wanted it to. Imagine working on Shadows and seeing some streamer make like half your salary in 2 hours from playing the game that you worked years on. I would be sick to my stomach, dude. When companies say they can't give you a raise or anything like that, they're lying, by the way. They just don't want to give you a raise is all. Come on, over $70,000 so Hassan would play for a few hours. It's ridiculous. So him defending the game was obviously also just a grift, a sponsored shielding if you will against warranted criticism, and we know this didn't work. Because Geralt of Gunia went and compared Shadows to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They took both games at their exact 1 week point in their life cycles being available to buy and then compared them. According to the data on screen here, which was not tampered with, it's just raw numbers, within 1 week of being on sale, Shadows lost approximately 30% of their player base on Steam, whereas in the same time period, Odyssey saw a drop of only 3.7% in players in comparison. So the retention rate for Shadows then is around 8.10 times worse by comparison when compared to Odyssey's retention rates. Currently, on Steam anyway, Shadows has about 1/3 its highest player base playing the game right now as I make this video, which means it's already lost well over half its players since launch. The game is not small either. It took me 71 hours to beat the game and do pretty much all of the content, and another 8 goddamn hours to clean up all the stupid trophies I was missing that included those damn legendary animals that spawn per season. And by the way, you can't control the time of day or anything, so you just gotta let nature literally run its course in-game before you can take those things. But all in all, none of this is great, although some websites like Insider Gaming are spinning the story anyways. They claim the game is in the top 5 best-selling of the year so far, yet actual raw units sold are never once mentioned anywhere. The claims they come to are held up by the subscription service version of the game, which costs less than $20 to buy into to play the game itself. So this just kind of feels disingenuous if you ask me, as if the game sold what they claimed, they would have the proof to say that. In comparison, recently Monster Hunter Wilds announced that it broke 10 million copies sold. That's sold, not players, or any weird nebulous language jargon to mask its failure. It's just straight up copies sold, as it should be reported every time, but instead Ubisoft will push stuff like this that says they broke 3 million players. See the selective wording being used again. They haven't even sold 3 million copies for their flagship title for their company here. But it's being spun as some bigger success than it really is. I just get annoyed by this corporate gobbledygook speak, man. Just say what the copies are sold. We don't care how many people subscribe to play it, but if they did do that, it would be far more bleak, and they know this. Insider Gaming was able also to get a copy of a company-wide memo sent out to everyone at Ubisoft recently, which tried to calm the nerves of Ubisoft's employees who are currently wondering if they will get laid off in the future. I'll read you part of this memo, but it's really long, so I'll just say the parts that are relevant, otherwise we'll be here all day, and I quote, "By now you have seen the message from Yves, our CEO, about the decision to create a new subsidiary that encompasses the 3 biggest Ubisoft brands, Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry. This new entity will remain part of the Ubisoft family and will continue to be operated by us, with Tencent being a minority shareholder. This important decision is a key turning point for us after the last few difficult years and is an opportunity for Ubisoft to rebuild stronger than ever. What will this mean for us in Zone 1? Certainly we can expect some major changes in terms of structure and organization, since these 3 brands compose a significant part of Zone 1's population. For now, what we can say is that once the agreement is finalized and confirmed by legal authorities, our Quebec, Sangway, I can't say that word, and Sherbrooke studios will move entirely to this new entity, while our Montreal project teams will be spread between the new entity and the current Ubisoft organization. Our studios in Toronto, Winnipeg, as well as Redstorm and Blue Mammoth will continue evolving in the current organization. It is still very early in the process, and I know you must have many questions, but the short answer to the what next question is, we need to take the time to figure this out, and the next months will be dedicated to determining the transition plan. Step 1 was this announcement where we shared the decision and kicked off the planning phase. Step 2 will be from now until this summer, where we will work out how to support the new entity with this existing organization and determine what the new model looks like on both sides. Step 3 will be the implementation of the new model with a longer period to complete the transition. Of course, there are many things that have not been determined yet, such as who and how we will manage the new entity. What will happen to the structure we have created around the zone, what will be the impact on the studios, and more. While there are many things that will only be defined during the planning process over the next few months, I can assure you that Ubisoft will continue to be a blah blah blah, and we'll just say end quote and keep going now. So even Ubisoft right now doesn't really know what they're doing with this transition either. They're kind of just figuring it out as they go, which isn't really what you want to hear when you have 18,000 developers waiting and most of them aren't sure if they are moving on to this new version of Ubisoft or not yet. They say that they'll have more details and plans by the mid-year of 2025, which is fair enough, but that means for the next 3 months, what are the majority of these teams going to be working on? Because they make it evident that only the teams chosen by Ubisoft and Tencent will remain on these core franchises. I guess Ubisoft can wait, since Tencent did give them an influx of $1.1 billion recently, which, by the way, this means that Tencent pretty much gave Ubisoft the entire value of their company right now to them in cash just to keep them afloat. Again, this is not the moves of a company that is doing really well right now, but it gets worse. Turns out, following the Tencent deal to keep Ubisoft afloat, that again, according to Insider Gaming, Ubisoft's stock has dropped into double digits during the same announcement. In the UK, France, and United States markets, Ubisoft shares dropped 11.80%, but this is the bleak part here where Insider Gaming states themselves. The fall fully erases the 11% gain the company saw in stock prices on Friday, less than a day after it was announced. So this means the stock raise that Ubisoft got from Tencent, giving them over $1 billion, has effectively already been lost in terms of marketing share a single day after it was announced. Yeah, this is not good, guys. So Ubisoft tried to tell their employees, according to Insider Gaming, to calm down, and the transition to Ubisoft's new version, whatever it may be, won't even be complete until the end of 2025 at the earliest. And I know for a fact that right now internally they haven't decided on what the next big Assassin's Creed adventure will be besides the Black Flag remake, and Hex maybe or maybe not going into full development yet. So, if you're an Ubisoft employee right now, I guess you either work on the Black Flag remake, Hex, maybe, or some form of Rainbow Six content for the next, 9 months, I guess, before Ubisoft and Tencent turn around and tell you whether you're still employed or not. That's bleak. However, I will say that I was given a tip by some of my insiders at Ubisoft that they are being told that the company will have massive layoffs come the middle of 2025, so summertime pretty much. Although this could change, but I think when your company inhales its entire worth by another company that just wants to own you, then you lost all the stock value just gained in a single day, and your big release and paying people like Hassan over $70,000 to shill your game doesn't even work. Best case scenario is that everyone just transitions over to this new Ubisoft and there are no layoffs, but let's be real, it's probably more so the worst case, which is a mass exodus and gutting. And Tencent then uses this to leverage the situation in their favor to further own all of this company inevitably in the future. They already own 25% of it now, but in a year's time, who knows? That $1 billion can only keep 18,000 employees going for so long. So I guess we'll see, but what do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.